Hey guys, how's it going? Today we'll be looking at the Alienware M15. This is the first revision that came out last year, 2018, and I got it at a discount on eBay because the second revision of the M15 just came out. So you can generally find the first revision for about $1,200 or $1,300 on eBay with a RTX 2060. If you want a 1660 Ti or lower than that, it will be even cheaper. You can probably find it for under $1,000 actually. So I think the first revision Alienware M15 is actually a pretty good deal. So I had my old Alienware M15 R3, which was, the big bulky version, and I sold it a few months ago because I got a desktop computer now, the CyberPower PC. So I didn't think I'd be needing that, but now I kind of regret it because I do kind of want a portable laptop for when I'm traveling, because I do travel a lot, so I do want to have a portable gaming machine as well. So I kind of regret selling that Alienware. There is a lot of pros and cons of that Alienware. The con is that it was big and bulky, the R3 version. The pros of it, though, is that it was very, very well built, and it didn't have any overheating issues because the chassis was so big, and it had these nice fancy LEDs on the side and everything. It had really good amount of key travel. I think it had 2.2 millimeters of key travel, which was better than pretty much every other keyboard at the time. So now let's look at the new version of the Alienware M15. You can see the lid looks exactly similar to the old Alienwares of the past. The keyboard and the design are quite different. So what separates this one from other Alienwares, at least for the 15-inch size, is the fact that it has a numpad on the side here, which I like. I like the fact that they fit pretty much a full-size keyboard along with a numpad here. So compared to the new revision, there's a Alienware M15 R2, which just came out this year. They changed the design. I think most people would agree that the new design looks better. It's their new Legend design or whatever. They have nice LEDs on the back of it, and it looks really cool. But what I don't like about it is that first they got rid of the numpad, and then they also got rid of a storage drive. I also heard that they got rid of the expandable RAM as well and made it soldered onto the motherboard, which might be a deal breaker for some people. And it's just more expensive for the same specs. So you can find the first revision Alienware M15, this one, for roughly $300 to $400 cheaper than the new revision. So that's why, in my opinion, I think you should be going for the first revision, because there's nothing bad about it really. It doesn't have as fancy a design, it doesn't have the cool LED lights on the back, but I think it has the same specs, right? It has the 2060, you can get it for 2070 as well. Has the same specs, same configurations as the new Alienware M15. Has an extra storage drive for those of you who want who got it. Actually, there's only a few configurations which have an extra storage drive, but this is the one I got, 256 gig SSD plus 1 terabyte HDD, which has a smaller battery than the 512 gigabyte SSD configuration. It's a 65 watt hour. The other one had like a 95 watt hour or whatever, but the problem is the 95 watt hour battery takes up that extra 2.5 inch slot. So this version gives me an extra slot for an extra hard drive, which is always nice. I prefer to have more storage space over battery life anyways, because this is a gaming laptop. I don't care too much about the battery life. But yeah, this one also comes with a full-size numpad, right? Like the new M15, the R2 does not have, for some reason or another, they got rid of this numpad, and then they just moved the keyboard back to the center, which I don't know. Some people might feel that the keyboard on the new one is better, but I think they're roughly, like, this one doesn't have a bad keyboard. It's obviously not as good as the original Alienware 15 R3, because that one was a much bigger, much thicker machine. So this is not going to have as deep a key travel. I think this is only like 1.5 millimeter, and that one was 2.2 millimeters. So obviously the keyboard's not going to be as good, but they fit actually more keys on here. And even the new M15 R2, they got rid of this numpad. I didn't like that. And this is cheaper by about $300, $400. So is it worth paying $300, $400 more for the new design? I don't know, right? Maybe to some people, but not to me. I think this one is a better deal. I don't like the fact that they moved this touchpad to a click pad now. This used to be physical buttons on the originally Alienware 15 R3. They got rid of the physical buttons. Again, maybe it's to make it smaller, slimmer, because obviously it's much lighter. This is only 5 pounds ish compared to the original Alienware 15, which was over 7 pounds. So this is definitely lighter. It's definitely thinner. So you can see on the side, what do we get? Come on. All right, so on the side here, you get full-size Ethernet port. Always very nice to have. These days, not many computers come with Ethernet ports anymore, but not many laptops do anyways. This one does. Full-size USB-A, and then headphone jack right here. And then you get 2 more USB-As here, which is always nice for legacy compatibility. But of course, for future compatibility, we also have the USB-C or Thunderbolt 3 port right here, a display port, mini display port, full-size HDMI, an Alienware graphics amplifier port for those of you who want to connect that device. I got rid of mine, but it's always nice for future-proofing your machine. And Alienware is one of the few companies, I don't actually know any other company that uses a proprietary port with the full PCIe lanes for graphics expansion. I know there's the Razer Core and everything, but I don't think they're the Thunderbolt 3 eGPUs, I believe, are not the full, they don't use the full PCIe lanes like the Alienware graphics port does. And then you have the AC adapter port right here. So yeah, that is they kept pretty much every port from the original Alienware, the bigger, thicker Alienware 15, which is really impressive. Yeah, they kept pretty much every port, nothing missing. On top of that, they added more keys and reduced the weight by about 2.5 pounds, reduced the thickness, and you don't lose that much. Well, you lose the LED, the fancy LED lights on the side, which is a shame. But, you know, they had to get rid of something. So they got rid of the fancy LED lights on the lid, on the sides of the lid and the chassis. That was from the original Alienware 15. They got rid of that. They brought back some of it for the revision, right? They have it on the back. This particular model, if you're looking for a gaming laptop that doesn't really scream gaming laptop, this is probably the best one out of the Alienware series because it doesn't have any fancy LEDs. It only has the Alienware head. That's the only thing that glows, is the Alienware head on the lid in here. That's it. And the keyboard, obviously, but you can turn that off. It does no other fancy LEDs. So this is pretty much the most business-like Alienware laptop you can get is the Alienware M15 R1. So I think for business users, especially having this numpad here, for business users, actually, you can actually get this laptop, and I think it would be pretty good. It doesn't look too out of place in an office, actually. And it's a shame about the key travel and the physical click pad, but they had to get rid of something to reduce the thickness. So I think that's acceptable. Okay, so anyways, what we're going to do today is we're going to upgrade this hard drive because it only comes with a 256. I got it on purpose. I didn't get the 512 gigabyte version on purpose because I wanted to have that extra hard drive slot. So we're gonna upgrade. I have a Crucial 1 terabyte M2 SSD here. So I have a Crucial 1 terabyte SSD here, and we're gonna look at the insides here because there should be an extra M2 slot if my instincts are correct. So we're gonna open this up there. I think there's only about, how many screws? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 screws. 9 screws. We should be relatively painless. And again, I think this is the best value Alienware right now. The Alienware 15, the old one, is still out there for like around the same price. It's not that much cheaper. I took a look. The one with the thick chassis and the glowing LEDs on the sides, it's still a good laptop, but problem is that it doesn't have the newer generation processors. I really wanted to have a hexa-core CPU because I do a lot of video processing, and the old Alienware R3, 15R3 only goes up to a 7700 HQ, the 7th gen KB Lake processors, which means it tops out at 4 cores, quad core. Whereas the M15 R1 and R2 have the 8th and 9th gen processors, which are hexa-core for the i7. So if you want to have a hexa-core CPU, then you've got to go for the Alienware 15, either the M1, either the R1 or the R2. Again, I prefer the R1 because of the numpad and the fact that it has the same specs, but for $300, $400 cheaper. I think it's the better value. And plus, if you don't like to have the fancy LEDs and stuff like that, this is probably the best option. It's the least gamery looking out of all Alienware's offerings. Okay. There's actually two more screws on the back. Didn't know about this. Okay. Screws might be a different size. Let's just keep them here, and since this is an Alienware, it should be easy to pull off this lid. I think I need a flathead to help me break open this case. Yep. Show me what's inside. All right, we got it open. All right, so if my instincts are correct, we have an extra 2.5-inch bay here because I got the smaller battery. If you get the larger 95 watt hour, this is 60 watt hour. So if you get the larger 95 watt hour or 90 hour battery, it's going to take up the rest of this space, and then you won't have this extra slot. But since I got the smaller battery on purpose because I wanted to have this extra hard drive slot right here, which to me is more important for gaming laptops than battery life. Then we have our 16 gigs of RAM, which are replaceable. And I heard that it's not replaceable on the new Alienware M15. I heard that the RAM is totally soldered onto the motherboard for that one, which sucks. And I believe the new Alienware M15 R2 does not have this extra slot. And then we're going to put our new M2 SSD. There's a default 256 gig in here. We're going to add another tera. So this is our Crucial M2 PCIe NVMe. All right, so should be relatively painless right here. This is interesting. That's a screw right there. So this one I would just stick in like this. I need another screw right here. Do I have an extra screw? Alright, so it looks like you need another screw of this size. And I'm just going to borrow one from the 2.5 inch for now, which should be fine because that one has two other screws holding it down. Alright, so I'm just going to borrow that one and then hold this one down. But yeah, there's the M2 SSD. Just upgraded that. So relatively pain-free. And start up the computer, make sure that it works. These two on the back. All right, I think we're good. And let's start up the computer and see if that drive is there. All right. Let's take a look. All right, so first we got to set up the hard drives I just installed. So I got to make sure that in Device Manager, this crucial SSD I just installed is there in present, and then we have another 256 gig, which is the Toshiba SSD that was already in here. Then we have a Seagate HDD that was also in here. But I noticed that only the Toshiba is set up so far, so I have to configure and partition the other ones. So I have to go to computer management, disk management. So two of them are, you see that the 256 gig is allocated, and I have two unallocated here. So there's two drives, that's why I'm not seeing them in my Windows Explorer. I have to allocate them first. So do new simple volume, and let's assign a letter, NTFS, finish. All right, and we'll make another new volume for here as well. Also 1 terabyte. One of them is going to be HDD, one of them is going to be SSD, but both are 1 tera. All right, so now we should be able to see 3 drives here. All right, so I just want to figure out, this one is, just want to make sure D is, this one is the HDD, right? And the E is going to be my SSD. So it's going to rename this. This one is probably going to be my data drive, and the SSD going to be my games drive. All right, and that's pretty much it. We just installed an SSD on here, and that, my friends, is the Alienware M15 R1, which is, like I said, a good value, a good pickup. It sits in between the Alienware 15 R3 and the new Alienware M15 R2. I think this one is the best overall value because, like I said, it is much slimmer, much lighter than the Alienware 15 R3 and contains the hexa-core processor. And it's $300, $400 cheaper than the Alienware M15 R2, which has pretty much exact same specs but a newer design. If you really want that newer design, then maybe it's worth paying that much, but I think for people who just, you know, want those specs and want a pretty decent machine, I think this is the better deal. You can pick it up for a lot cheaper than the new revision. And by the way, those of you wondering about the Alienware M15 build quality, it's not quite as good as the old Alienware 15 R3, but you know, that one was a lot bigger and thicker. This one is almost as good. It's decent for the size and weight. I would say better than other laptops in this range. So don't worry about that too much. And I'm not going to go into the benchmarks or the thermals of this thing because Dave2D and a lot of other people have already uploaded good videos showing the really good thermals, impressive thermals actually, on the Alienware M15, especially at this size. So I don't think I will go into that. A lot of people have done it better than me. And I just want to show you an overview of the laptop, as I usually do. For more dedicated gaming benchmarks, you can probably look at other videos online about that. So that's it, guys. That's the Alienware M15 R1. I think it is a good pickup right now. And that's it. Thanks for watching.